recapping Week 4 in the Mountain West.
College football is back, and we're back on the Big Mountain with some Week 4 reactions.
Hey, welcome back to the Big Mountain. JY, Steve, we're going to talk about the Mountain West in Week 4, and my goodness, is there a lot to talk about. I have to talk about what I deemed kind of the game of the week here, and is the late game of the week, the last game played in Week 4. Of course, I'm talking about Fresno State traveling out to the islands versus Hawaii. Fresno State comes away with the victory here, 23-21. Back and forth games. Team stats here pretty even. I'm not going to read them because they were very even across the board. Came down to a 2-point conversion here at the end of the game. Hawaii trying to tie that up to take it into overtime. It fails. But we had two solid Mountain West teams, exactly what I was hoping for. The line was 2.5. I took the points with Hawaii, so the line wins, right? Yeah. Hawaii wins the spread there against the spread. The Bulldogs don't, but either way, you knew this was going to be a close game, and it absolutely was. Defensively here, both sides, if I add up the points, we're talking 16 points out of the 44 points. So both sides, both defenses getting some points here. Hawaii started off the scoring, their defense did, with a safety, something you don't see too much of, but I saw a few safeties here this week in Mountain West games. Micah, he's back in the game after sitting out a few games. He looked healthy. He really didn't look hobbled at all. And is he 100%? I don't know, but he looked pretty darn good. He was moving around, and really kind of his youth showed here a little bit in this game. He finishes 28 of 47. We know they're going to pass the ball quite a lot. He finishes with 219 yards, 1 touchdown, but he throws 3 interceptions, one of them a pick six, one of them kind of later on in the game when they were looking to drive the field. E.J. Warner here, and I'll give this kid some credit because I've been pretty hard on him, giving the ball, turning the ball over. Well, he doesn't turn the ball over. He finishes a very nice 22 of 29, 230 yards, 1 touchdown pass, no interceptions. He also ran the ball a few times. So I know I've been hard on that kid, but he had a really nice game, not set the world on fire, but was able to control the game there for the Bulldogs, not turn it over. So shout out to E.J. Warner here. And Hawaii held the Dogs here to just 65 rush yards. And that was something, when I made my pick on Hawaii, a lot of people said, man, Hawaii's not going to be able to stop this dog run game. Well, guess what? They did. They held the run game in check for the most part. E.J. Warner had to be able to throw the ball efficiently in order for them to get some points, which, as I said, he did, because the run game was not going very well in this game at all. And it came down to those turnovers. The turnovers by the youth of Alejado there really hurt Hawaii. They tried to hang on, just couldn't do it, but a great game here in the Mountain West. The last time these two teams are going to play for quite a while, because Fresno's leaving the Mountain West and Hawaii's sticking around. It's everything that we would wanted. I stayed up far too late on the East Coast. I didn't catch the very end, but I caught a lot of this game. And yeah, it was a good game. I had to start with this game because, we knew the winner of this game is propelling themselves up right now into the top, 3 or 4. You're talking possible conference championship game here for the winner of this. And of course, right now that's Fresno State. So good on them.
Yeah, no surprises, I don't think, as far as, I think we kind of looked at this game, the line, 2.5. That's your classic coin flip game. Both teams kind of trending up. Fresno maybe a little better than we expected this year. Hawaii has been playing well as we expected this year.
Right.
So 2 good young teams just building up, trending up. It came down to a close game. I mean, anytime you can have a game coming down to a 2-point conversion try, that's a good game. So, neither team, I think, has anything to be ashamed of. Just a good, solid Mountain West game.
Yeah, I mean, I had Fresno, if I'm remembering correctly, I think I had Fresno at 7-5 on the season. They look like they could absolutely eclipse that at this point, unless they have some hiccups here in conference play. And I had Hawaii at 6-6. Again, that's right about where I think they're going to end up here. So a really good game. Had to start with this one. Let's go to the other conference game that we had. Boise State traveling to Air Force. Anybody have 86 points on their bingo card?
Craziness.
Because it was 49-37, and it was back and forth. Of course, I locked the Broncos here in this game at 10.5. They do cover that, But I texted you, Steve. I said, they're not going to cover. They got a late touchdown in order to cover. They broke open, and they had several huge run plays in this. They break one open to cover the spread, but it certainly looked like the Broncos were not going to do so. And early on in this game, I believe it was the second play from scrimmage for the Broncos, every Bronco fan, including myself, held our breath. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. Maddox Madsen has a knee injury. He tries to get up. He can't do it. He goes back down. Coach Danielson, I think, was the first to the kid. I mean,
that was right. Like,
he booked it over to Madsen. Yeah. And then he went back to he was able to walk off. They didn't cart him off. Able to walk off. He went back to the locker room. Really wasn't sure what was going to happen there. He does come back. You could see he had a nice big knee brace, but I got to say, it didn't look like he was hampered too much. He still looked like the normal Maddox. I'm sure it did. I mean, when you have that lunky thing on your leg, it's going to affect you in some way. But he still had a really nice game, and this is his Bronco team. They said it on the broadcast. We've said it for forever now. The Broncos are going to go as far as Maddox Madsen is going to take them, and he did a really nice job in this game after it looked pretty scary. I will say the backup came in. I'm not remembering his name. He looked just fine, though. I mean, he was able to move the ball as well. This is a good offense. Total yards here, 595 for the Broncos, 515 for Air Force. And we had a good mix, as I said, from Boise. They still want to establish that run game. The mix here, 310 pass, 285 run, so really close to a 50-50 game. And a huge day here from Dylan Riley. 5 touchdowns for this young guy, and he looked amazing. Speed, it kills, and he killed the Falcons with it. 19 carries, 171 yards. He had 4 touchdowns on the ground. He also had 2 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown in the air. Sherrod ended with a touchdown. He had 7 for 80. Gaines only carried it 3 times. He was the kid I was really excited for here coming into the season, and they're all playmakers. I mean, all 3 of these guys, when they touch the ball, they could take it to the house on a 60, 70, 80 yarder. It was Riley's day here, no doubt about it. He looked fantastic. Madsen ended 13 of 23 for 276, 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception, but I got to talk about the Air Force offense here because you're so used to that, that triple option, run. Well, let me tell you, Suka, I think is his name, not to be confused with Sluka from UNLV, but Zuka, I think it is. The kid can throw the ball. He can throw the ball. He finishes 13 of 18, 246 yards, 2 passing touchdowns for the Falcons, Steve. He did have 1 interception at the end of the game, but Cade Harris is the dude. I couldn't believe watching this game. That's the guy that they're going to throw to out of the backfield. He's a running back. They play him all over the freaking place. And it's going to go to him. And guess what? It went to him. And he's wide open. And I'm like, Broncos, we all know they're going to throw it to Cade Harris. And the kid just got open. He had 8 receptions for 177 yards. And this offense is scary. But I'll tell you what I was concerned about coming in was the secondary, that pass defense for Air Force. It didn't make me think any different. They're going to have some issues on that pass defense. Yes, they had some gashing, massive runs in this game, did Boise. But really, it's going to be that pass defense that's going to, I think, hold up the Falcons in this a little bit. In terms of defenses, Air Force, they had no sacks, only 1 tackle for loss. Boise, no sacks, 6 tackle for loss. And Benefield was a pretty big beast back there in the back end for the Broncos.
Well,
that's it.
Well, I got a few things I want to say.
Okay, I just said a mouthful.
So, if generally in football, when a defensive back leads the team in tackles, that's not necessarily a good thing. He was obviously a tackling machine, but that means they're getting into your secondary, which generally isn't a good thing. You want your linebackers to be.
You do, but it also means you're playing Air Force.
Yes,
so
exactly.
They're running the. You're playing a little bit of a different scheme,
right?
Against an Air Force team probably than just about anybody else. But,
sure.
So he was up in more of a linebacker position, kind of, more up a lot of the times that I saw. But yes, you can keep going.
Well, so I was watching Big Ten games, but I flipped over this a few times. I had some monetary interests on the Broncos in a couple different ways, and so I was very happy to see them cover.
Yes.
But I flipped over, and I think it was the second time I flipped over. Both teams were wearing a lot of blue.
Yes,
and and you had told me that Maddox was out. And so I see a blue team, and I see a guy throwing the ball, a touchdown pass. I'm like, all right, boy. I'm like, wait a minute, that's Air Force throwing a touchdown? And it was like, and it wasn't a just like a lucky fullback throwing the ball. It was like a real quarterback making a real touchdown pass. So I was like, who is this Air Force team? So anyways, I saw just probably about 10 minutes total of this game. Like you said, tons of offense. Love seeing Air Force, be able to complement their running game with an effective passing game. That's great to see. And Boise, they might not be this year maybe the team that they were other years where like they're that favorite for college football playoff spot. I mean, they still could make it, but they continue their march on. Maybe they're imperfect, not as good as some other years. They continue their march on in the Mountain West, and I'm happy for Maddox and happy that he came back into the game, and they just keep winning games, especially in the Mountain West.
Well, Air Force now 0-2 already in the Mountain West. They lost to Utah State last week. They lose to Boise State this week. So I would say they're out of any sort of championship talk, but they need a lot of help to get into a Mountain West championship game. We're actually going to see them at Navy here in 2 weeks, Steve. We're going to be heading to Annapolis, watching the Falcons play Navy. So let's go to Wyoming versus Colorado. This ends 37-20. I mean, you had mentioned to me before, you're like, man, this Buff team, they're on the edge of potential disaster. And it was clear that this team came out knowing that they were on the edge of disaster because they came out firing on all cylinders. The playmakers were making plays. The speed was apparent. Like, they came out hot, super hot. They looked really good. It kind of changed in the second half, but early on, man, the Bus team was amazing. Yards here, 497 to 348, of course, Buffalo. Halftime, it was 21-3, but the Pokes did look much better here in the second half. Their offense got going some. And Steve, we were talking right before we came on here, but a lot is being made about this fourth quarter drive that the Pokes had. It took 6 or 7 minutes, yada, yada, yada. They score a touchdown to make it 20-30. And, I mean, the ESPN guys just couldn't stop talking about it, about how much time they were wasting. But, as Coach Sauvel said after the game, because everybody asked him about it at that point, there was over 4 minutes left. He had his 3 timeouts. He had the 2-minute warning. He had, they got to get the ball. They're going to need an onside kick no matter what. They're down 2 scores, right? So they needed a 3 and out. Well, lo and behold, now that we know what happened, they didn't get a 3 and out, so it absolutely didn't matter. But I'm sitting there while these guys are going off the frickin' rails about this, going, what are you talking about? There's 4 minutes left. Everybody knows they need to hold the Buffaloes here, to a 3 and out in order to get a stop. And then you still have your time with your 2 timeouts. So what are we freaking talking about, Steve? But they were going off the rails. Wyoming Cowboy fans are like freaking out about it, and I'm just like, I don't know what the big deal is, but I don't know. I guess everybody needs something to be pissed off about, and that's what they're pissed off about. What do you think about that?
We've talked about this before. The commentators on TV, they like to act like they're the experts. It's easy to say what someone else should be doing and running a game when you're up in the box and you have nobody that you have to control. You don't have to give instructions. You don't have to do anything. You can just sit up there with your thumb planted somewhere and bloviate about what someone else should be doing.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. The thing is they had to get a touchdown to get kind of back into it, and they did it. They got back into it. Still had over 4 minutes. Still had their timeouts. They needed a stop. They didn't get a stop. So if people were making this about the clock management with 7, 8, 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, that's stupid. They needed a touchdown. They got it. Then they needed a defensive stop, and they didn't get it. And that's why they didn't win. They didn't have a chance to come back and win the game.
Exactly.
But they scored. You've been worried about their offense, getting going, and you texted me early in the game like, "Oh, they might not score any points today."
It wasn't good.
Yeah, but they scored 20 points against a P4 opponent. They had a chance to get in the game late. They needed a defensive stop. They didn't get it. And I think if you're a Wyoming fan, you should be kind of happy about how your team is playing as you get ready to go into the meat of the Mountain West schedule.
Right, and to me, that's what I take out of this. They score 17 points in the second half. They have a really nice drive in the fourth quarter. Yep. You got your playmakers the ball. I mean, that's something you can build off of. Yet here everybody wants to sit and talk about this. In my opinion, information. This one drive they're just focusing on the wrong damn thing.
Yeah.
Focus on the positives. And that drive is a massive positive.
Yes.
I'll take that 3-4 times a game, and the Pokes are going to win a ton of games this year. So it's just...
And if they were trying to hurry up, they may not have even scored a touchdown, because sometimes you get worried about hurrying up,
right,
and you don't focus on what do we need to do, which is score a freaking touchdown.
Well, and Coach mentioned that. He mentioned some of it was we have youngsters, and they are playing more. Tote Harris, Chris Durr, still younger guys. They didn't have J. Mike in this game. Right. He sat out. He has a bye week now. He should be good to go here in 2 weeks. But Evan Svoboda had a nice game at tight end. The kid that played quarterback last year actually had him take the snaps and run a few times, which we loved to see him do last year. So this wasn't didn't have their tight end. They're getting youngsters in here, and that's not an excuse. But, Coach had that be one of his points. But Durr finishes 5 receptions, 50 yards, a touchdown. Tote Harris is the guy. I love Sam Scott, and he needs his carries. But Tote Harris is special. He's got the speed. He can find the holes. 19 carries, 126 yards. The next running back, it was 2 guys tied for 5 carries, Scott and Kelman. Scott does get in the passing game some. I like how they use him. And the O-line here, I thought, did a nice job. Unfortunately, it looks like we lose our left tackle yet again. He made it through almost 4 games this year versus, not even a quarter last year. I'm hoping for the best for him. It didn't look good. He walked off, but it did not look good, and I have not been able to see where he's at health-wise here as we're recording this on a Sunday evening. The secondary was off a bit. Coach said that, but you're playing a Buffalo team that, they had Shador Sanders last year. This kid that came over from, was it Salter? Something like that from Liberty. He can throw the rock too. Yeah. So, it was overall a decent game. So let's go to UNLV Miami. What a crazy game, Steve.
Yes.
41-38. The Rebs are down 14 points 2 different times. One time in the first half. And it was, I should say at halftime, it was 24-10. They come out as a totally different team here in the second half. And so I'm going to focus on that because the first half was ugly. It was ugly. But they score 2 touchdowns. They tie it up at 24. Then have these crazy kind of fluke-ish. Well, they're not fluke. They're legit plays. One's a kickoff return for a touchdown. Another one's a pick 6. And just like that, they're down 14 again. And you're like, man, what are they going to do with this adversity? And they don't quit, man. This team doesn't quit. And they just keep going. Calandria just keeps going. They had a very dominant second half minus the pick 6, which was a deflection. It wasn't like a bad pass for Calandria. He had a couple deflected passes, but deflected, and then a pick 6, and then a kickoff return. But they scored 31 points. I mean, that's what this offense can do. They can score the points. Time of possession, 38-22, mostly second half related. Total yards, 513-396. Calandria ends 29-43, 293. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. As I said, some of that was deflections there at the line and whatnot. So that happens. Jet Thomas, I don't even know if the kid dressed in the first half. Right. We barely saw this kid. Kavion Lee had a nice first half, but just Jet Thomas is their guy.
Yeah.
He comes out. They get him the touches in the second half. Again, totally different offense when you get him the ball. And he was 13 carries, 118 yards, and a touchdown. Bradley still looks good as their wide receiver. Defense, though, Steve, it looked like week 0 or week -1.
Yeah.
Again, I'm questioning their defense again. I'm back to where I was 3 weeks ago, especially coming off of a bye. And you were saying it's just holes and stuff, that they're just missing reads. Yeah. So I will say, the defense was knocking players out left and right. They knock out the starting quarterback, Finn. They knock out the starting center. They locked out another lineman. They knocked out a D-back. I mean, they were hurting kids. Like, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but
right.
They're big boys, man, and they know how to hit. So they were definitely knocking some of these Red Hawks around. But, hey, they squeak out a win again. They're 4-0, and we'll see what they got in the Mountain West because that defensive side, there's not a whole lot pretty back in there. So what are your thoughts?
I actually ended up watching quite a bit of this game. This was a noon game, right?
This was a noon game, yeah. So a 9 a.m. kickoff for our Rebel friends.
And they seemed a little sleepy at the beginning of the game, like rubbing the morning dust out of their eyes. Honestly, and so I was watching this on YouTube with the split screen. I sent you a picture, 4 different. And so sometimes I wasn't listening to the game, but I could see what was going on.
Sure.
And honestly, like you said, there were some fluky plays in that first half. I mean, points count no matter what. So they gave up points, but it was on some fluky plays. And honestly, for me, I kept thinking the whole time, even when they were down, what was it, 24-10 or something, they were down early?
Yep, halftime was 24-10, yep.
I honestly, at that point, was thinking, honestly, I think they'll come out in the second half, they'll do a lot better, and they'll win the game. Like, I never felt like there wasn't any danger. I didn't ever feel like there was a danger zone. I know you kind of did. We were texting, you're like, oh, they need to win this game.
Well, I'll tell you, I felt really comfortable when they tied it up at 24, but when they gave those two quick, and just, again, it's a kick return. It's an unfortunate tip and I'm like, holy cow, they just worked their butts off to get back. Now they're back to where they were. They said it on the game too. That's where I'm like, how much adversity can this team overcome? But Calandria don't care, man. He's out there to score touchdowns.
And that's the thing. Like, I have confidence in their playmakers. I have confidence in their coach as far as like the offensive play calling, especially. And that I think just that Mullen with Calandria, we've talked about this many times. You got that coach and quarterback duo, and they're on. So for me, I just kept having confidence that whatever they were down, they were going to come back. And the offense, I feel you can trust this offense.
Oh, yeah.
The defense, you can't trust yet. The defense is what it is, and I continue to say it's not a talent issue. I think they have plenty of talent. A lot of those busted plays where you can see a guy is supposed to come up in that hole and he's going to a different lane. And the guy and that's how the plays are breaking down. And it just takes one guy. If his lane assignment is to get the guy to turn inside and he goes inside instead, then there's nobody. He has outside contained. So anyways, it's a lot of things like that, which is just players learning the system, learning how to function in the system. And for me, it's a question of how long is that going to take them? Do they get this defense even to be just respectable against a Boise when they play later on, or does it take until the end of the season? So, or even in the next year, that's the big question there, because the offense, like if they could just get a medium defense, like not terrible, just an okay average defense. The offense, I trust them to score points and come up with plays in big games. So I watched a lot of this game. I was impressed by UNLV, and they still have some defensive issues. They need to get that cleaned up. But to me, it's nothing like, sometimes you could just tell, like, hey, this team, we don't have the dudes this year. That's not the case with UNLV. They just need more games, more practice, more time to catch up. It's just a question of how long does that take.
Well, they get another bye week to try and straighten things out again, and then they go up to Laramie, a possible catch game for them. I think that's going to be a good game here in 2 weeks for those two teams. They both will have a bye and then have that game there up in Laramie. The last couple games here, Steve, I'm gonna hit them all, but I'm gonna hit them lightly. Those are the 3 games I watched basically from beginning to end, other than falling asleep at the end of the Fresno game. The Western Kentucky-Nevada game, I caught pieces of this, and Nevada was up 10-3 at the half, and I'm going, okay, I picked Western Kentucky, and I'm going, oh, maybe Nevada will get a dub here. I want them to get a dub. I don't think they're going to, but hey, 10-3 at the half. Let's do this. They have similar team stats across the board, but they lose the turnover battle 3-2. Their passing game still struggles. Purdy, 16 of 30 for 165 and 2 interceptions. They can't continue to throw interceptions. Now, I will say, Purdy was the guy. 2 weeks ago when they played Middle Tennessee, or a week ago when they played Middle Tennessee, they were rotating in and out, both Purdy and I'm forgetting the other guy's name. They did go with Purdy, which to me, he should be their quarterback. He's got to stop throwing interceptions, but he should be their quarterback. But man, they just can't hold it together again in the second half. And, they lose 31-16. And I still just say, I'm worried this Nevada team, I don't know if they got another win on their schedule. So this was, again, 10-3 at the half. I'm going, just like Middle Tennessee, I'm like, hey, you guys might be all right. You might be all right. And they just blow it up.
I mean, they're just not a good team this year. Good teams win games. And they're just not able to do that. And I say that, like, we went to media days for the Mountain West, and I mean, I really like Coach Choate. I like talking to him and his answers. I like Purdy. I'd like to see him do well. They're just not a good team this year, unfortunately.
Yeah. I knew they would be at the bottom.
Yeah.
They're struggling a little bit more here offensively, and I really thought they were going to.
If it was me, and I don't want to criticize the coaching, I would, with the way Purdy, the athlete that he is, I would almost go, I'm not saying a triple option like Air Force, back in the day, but something that's more centered on using his legs and just safe passes where he's not put. I know in the Penn State game, he had a lot of pressure at him, and he just threw a terrible interception.
Some screens or something, right?
Screens, rollouts where you have one receiver, and if that guy's open, you put it where the defender can't get it, and if not, you either throw it away or you
just run forward. Just run forward and get as much as you can get out of it.
The old Mike Shanahan defense that they ran with RG3. Roll out and either chuck it deep, throw to a short pass to the running back, or just run.
Yep. And he can run. Yes. So I would like to see that. All right, Colorado State UTSA, kind of an ugly game. I was trying to watch this while I was watching some other games. UTSA wins this game 14-3, and Norvell here goes for 2 at the end of the game to win the game. He wanted to win it. He didn't want to go to overtime. He wanted to win. That 2-point conversion fails, and so they end up losing. Again, I struggle with this Colorado State offense. They're just not scoring points. But when you look at the time of possession, first downs, yardage, CSU kind of won it across the board. They won the turnover battle. So you're like, it wasn't like dramatic, but you're like, clearly there's a team that's winning in these categories. Yeah. They just can't finish. I don't know. We'll see. They got Wazoo here this coming week. They're 1-2. They got Wazoo coming in. We'll see what happens.
Do you remember what the line was in this game?
4.5.
Yeah, UTSA was
favorite 4.5.
And so they fell within that with a chance to win it. I didn't watch any of this game, but my impressions just are, they were supposed to lose this game close. They lost the game close. I give Norvell some credit for going for the win for his guys. You put your trust in your guys, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Yeah. Again, UTSA is a solid G6 team.
Oh yeah, they're a good team.
So yes. I agree with you. It's you got to see them get some points at some point. Maybe against Wazoo. Washington Huskies just absolutely blasted them.
Yes.
Their defense was not great. Yep. So maybe that'll be Colorado State's chance to get some points on the board.
Well, let's talk about getting points on the board. San Diego State, 34. Cal, 0.
How does it make any sense?
I have absolutely no idea.
Make it make sense to me.
Turnovers 3-0. So that's part of it. That still doesn't equate to 34 to nothing. Especially that nothing. Like that absolutely blows me away. Now, they got it down close to the goal line and they turned the ball over. But still, how they don't score any points here. The defense for San Diego State, they actually have 2 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. So the defense basically won this game. They could have let the Aztec offense on the sideline and let the defense out there the whole time, and they still would have won the game 14-0.
Yeah.
It's completely asinine. Halftime, it was 13-0. And I'm like, okay. Cal's getting beat, but hey, they can get in the locker room. They can, maybe get things going again. And they get beat worse in the second half than they got beat in the first half. So I did not get to see any of this game. I'm dumbfounded by this. I love, if any of you guys did see the game, let us know. I will say, Steve, I have to say this, because we've given Snapdragon a hard time. Yeah. And the fans of San Diego State. They had people in that building.
Love it.
They had people in Snapdragon. It looked like a really cool event. Of course, it's Cal versus San Diego State. It should have people in that building. And so props to the Aztec fans and getting butts in those seats for your team. And the team delivered a 34-0 win against the Cal Bears.
Fantastic for the Aztecs. I don't think anybody predicted this or anything like it. And this Cal team who just whooped a decent, solid Minnesota team. Right. How does it make sense to get just against a San Diego State team who, they haven't been anything spectacular. Did they beat them worse than they beat Stony Brook?
No, I think it was about 42-0.
Okay, so not that far off.
It wasn't that far off.
Yeah,
no.
And so just doesn't make sense. But I'm happy. Coach, again, I keep going back to Mountain West Media Days. Was it Sean Miller?
Lewis.
Oh, yeah. Sean Lewis, yeah. Coach Sean Lewis, I really enjoyed talking to him at Mountain West Media Days. Yeah. So I'm happy for him and the team that they got this win. I'm just shocked, very surprised. I'm going to be honest, I'm shocked.
I think most people were shocked, quite frankly. I think if Aztec fans are being honest, they're shocked at 34-0.
If it was like they won 32-31, walk-off field goal, be like, you know what? They had a great game at home, great atmosphere, whatever. But to just dust them like that.
Well, let me tell you, I have to pick all these teams. So you've got
what do you do with that?
I don't know. They shut out Stony Brook.
Yeah.
They go up, look like garbage the next week against Wazoo.
Yeah.
Then they come down here, and it's like, oh, geez, I don't know how you pick this team right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get to San Jose State versus Idaho. San Jose State finally gets a win on their record, 31-28. Of course, they don't cover the spread here. It was about 14, a game that I didn't pick because the lines just aren't early enough. The line was 14. I probably actually would have taken Idaho getting the points just because of how San Jose State has looked. And they were down 14-0 early were the Spartans. They are able to come back, make it 14-14 at the half. And Idaho here played, a good road game. Time of possession, 39-21 for Idaho. Yeah. That's what it is. Control the ball, get those first downs, run the clock. Good road game. They were 9 of 18 on third downs. And your favorite here, Steve, 5 of 5 on fourth downs.
Love it. Freaking love it.
That's how you can, control the clock and possibly win a game that you're maybe not supposed to against an FBS team. The offense here for the Spartans, they look good. Both run and pass look good. I got to give a shout out to our boy Lynch, the kicker. He hits his first field goal of the season after starting 0-4. Really the reason you could say they kind of lost the first game to Central Michigan. But he able to hit a 48-yarder. He comes out 48-yarders, I think. Oh, good gracious. What are we going to get out of this? Beautiful kick. I mean, it looked like he'd been doing it for forever. So good on him and good on them. Egan here gets, he's 13 of 21, 222 yards, had a touchdown to Scholes. And the running backs, they ran for an average of 7.6. So they're able to run the ball finally. Something I've been wanting to see from this offense. Chalk with 2 touchdowns, Bates with 1. San Jose State now goes to Stanford this week. So another interesting Cali game here. A Mountain West versus an ACC team.
Yeah, and there's an opportunity there. If San Diego State can blank Cal, San Jose State can beat Stanford for sure. So I didn't see any of this game.
Yeah.
I did see some commentary. I was following along on Twitter, and at one point they said that basically they weren't even gonna kick a field goal because they don't have a kicker. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then the dude comes out and wins it, 48-yarder to win it. So telling his haters to just keep giving it to me.
Yes. I'm not sure he was doing that, but he was pretty darn happy.
I bet it felt good too. But at some point, though, you got to be if San Jose State's going to live up to the expectations we had for them in the Mountain West,
right?
They got to take it up a notch. They got to improve. Last year we had the Nash and Gash offense. This year we got the kind of the Gash and Stumble offense a little bit. They're not. I mean, they're not putting it up at the levels they were last year.
Sure.
So if they can turn it up a notch as they go into Mountain West play, that would be great. Because both of us had high expectations. A lot of people did high expectations.
Well, they get this win. You can go if you get a dub at Stanford.
Heck yeah.
You're right where you need to be. You're 2-2. You wouldn't be 3-1, but you're 2-2. Off you go into the Mountain West schedule, feeling pretty good. So they're fine. They needed this win.
Yeah,
they needed this win, but they got it.
And even in reality, let's say they go to Stanford, they play well.
Yeah,
and maybe they lose by a score or whatever.
Sure.
The big thing for them is to just get some improvement as they head into Mountain West. They're not going to the college football playoff this year. Their highest thing that they can get is to win the Mountain West. So what is it going to take for them to get into the Mountain West championship game?
Right.
You just need to keep improving, and when they get into conference play, that's like a reset button on the season.
Absolutely, yeah. So last one here, Utah State versus McNeese. Didn't see anything of this game. Really, frankly, wasn't interested. I've seen a fair share of Utah State so far this year. Didn't need to watch them play McNeese, but they win 48-7. Take care of business very easily, and that's the slate for Week 4 Mountain West, Steve. And as we both know, we're starting to get into the conference schedule. So it's going to get much more intense as we race to championship time. So, hey, we thank you guys for watching this episode. As you know, we do everything Mountain West and Big Ten. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe if you like the content, and we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.